For schoolgirls come to their senses on a sandy beach, and begin to get to know each other. Asuka Suzumori is in B grade. She runs and plays basketball. Cheyenne Kyuj loves playing the piano and her dog, Arnold. Matsuo Matani is an excellent student, loves reading and cooking. And she knows a lot about astronomy. Hamar Anisima, thanks to her father, has survival skills. 20 hours earlier, the girls were lucky to be alive after a plane crash, one of whose wreckage they are now sailing on. Hamar recalls her father's instructions and realizes that they have no fresh water. You can't drink seawater, because it's salty. They could lose more fluid than they gain. Giving this information, Hamar shoots down a flying fish, wraps it in cloth, and crushes it. Now they can drink the fluid of the fish. But the other girls refuse the treat. Evening comes, and the girls go to bed, and in the morning, they see the island. But the sea tide carries their raft aside. They have to swim by themselves. Hamar notices a tiger shark fin, and throws his phone battery at it. The shark gets an electric shock and stops chasing. The frightened girls make it to shore. They are shocked by Homare's erudition, and she tells him that she and her father have been washed ashore in different oceans of the planet before. But then Matsu faints from dehydration. She is laid out in the shade. Hamar, having eaten a grasshopper that flies by, explains ways to get water from plants by filtering or desalinating sea water. They can also collect rainwater or find a spring. As Matsu's condition worsens, Hamar shares her saliva with her friend. True, while doing so he treats her to a grasshopper leg. Matsu is shocked, her first kiss was with a grasshopper? In the morning, Hamar and Asuka head into the forest to look for water. Cheyenne, meanwhile, is wandering along the beach and finds an incomprehensible object that looks like a coconut. Asuka collapses without strength, while Hamar feels good. She finds a place where a stream has recently flowed and begins to dig out the bed. She finds no water, but the soil is damp enough that the girl manages to get her friend drunk by collecting and squeezing the soil with a sock. Cheyenne and Matsu are also losing their strength. Suddenly it starts to rain. The girls manage to collect some water. Hamar tells them the 3 rules of survival. If you don't keep your body temperature normal, you'll die in 3 hours. Without water, you can only live for 3 days. Without food, 3 weeks. So, the first thing to do is to build a shelter. But the friends whine in one voice about unbearable hunger, and then Hamar offers a choice of bugs, seaweed, remnants of something in a found jar and a sea urchin. Cheyenne chooses the sea urchin, but does not know how to eat it. Her friend shows her how to cut the animal up, and the girl is delighted. Matsu takes the seaweed. Hamar explains that all green and brown seaweed can be eaten. And they are quite nutritious. Asuka chooses a jar of remnants that look like jam. But, alas, it is spoiled. And dinner is flown away into the bushes. Hamar is left with the cicadas, and she shows how to eat them. The sun goes down, and the girls go to sleep right on the beach. Time passes, but the rescuers are still missing. Hamar builds a tent while Asuka whines about hunger. She goes to the forest to get vines, and the cranky girl asks for help. Maybe she can find something edible. Asuka finds a plant that looks like a yam. But Hamar stops her. They cannot eat unfamiliar plants. As a last resort, she can do a skin test, put the fruit against her skin and see what happens. Asuka is prepared to sacrifice her bottom, and Hamar inserts the plant into her ass. After a while, a stinging spot appears there, which means the fruit is poisonous. Out of desperation, Asuka catches a cicada and is delighted by the taste of the insect. She eats it and envies Hamar. Her friend is the real mistress of the island. Later, the girls finish building the tent and Cheyenne insists on building a shower. They can't show themselves to the rescuers like that, can they? Hamar supports her. Hygiene is very important in matters of survival. She builds a shower out of a piece of polyethylene found on the beach. Cheyenne tries it out first. Meanwhile, Hamar and Matsu go to the sea to collect clams. The island's mistress shows them how to find critters in the shade of their bodies. Even the hermit crayfish, which Matsu releases, are good enough to eat. But now a fire is needed, and Hamar ignites it through a bottle of water. The stone heats up and the clams roast on it. For the first time in a while, the girls eat real food, and find it delicious. Soon the girls realize that, although the clams are delicious, it takes a lot of them to really get full. So Hamar sets out on a hunt. She finds butterfly-like trails left by squirrels that have tender and tasty meat. Now she has to make traps. There are 4 kinds: choking snares, shooting arrows, traps that topple something heavy on the beast, and pits with stakes at the bottom. The girls go looking for useful things to do. Asuka catches a frog and catches it with her skirt. Hamar explains that frogs and toads only eat their legs. which immediately upsets the girl. Then Hamar notices a rabbit hole. They return to the beach to prepare the snares. One end of the rope is tied to a flexible branch and the other to a noose set with stakes. They wait for the animal to enter the noose. Hamar explains that rabbit holes have several exits, so it will be good if they split up and set snares at other holes. The girls do this. Hamar praises them for their new idea. However, it's Asuka who gets caught in the noose. The girls are sure they will soon be eating real meat. But Hamar cools their ardor. Sometimes you have to wait several days for the snares to work. So, she intends to search for shells in the depths. Cheyenne greets the hunters with joyful news. She found a croc on the beach, and now they have a pot. But she is horrified by the sea stars she has brought back. Hamar explains that these are a few of the edible ones, and they have caviar inside. The girls go to check the snares. Asuka is upset by the need to kill the animal. But the snares are empty. Then the girls see the smoke from the fire and run to the shore. But the sea is empty. Cheyenne only thought to see a ship in the distance. She sobs in disappointment. Hamar recalls her father's admonition: when the going gets tough, make a barbecue. In the morning she wakes Cheyenne and takes her to the shore, where they see the tide is out. She asks the girl to dig, and she finds fish. Hamar remembers that there are species of fish that sleep in the sand. They pick up lots of fish and have a barbecue. And in the pot they make herbal tea. Dinner was a success. And the girls believed for the first time that all would be well and they would come home. The next day, Mutsu and Asuka find a live rabbit in a trap. Mutsu tries to finish the animal off, but her hands are shaking and she keeps punching past it. That's when Asuka takes over. They bring the animal ashore, and are praised by Hamar. But now a knife is needed. And the girl shows them how to make one from a stone. Then she teaches Mutsu how to carve the carcass. It's not easy for the girl, but she has to learn. And she does. Cheyenne recalls how in France a chef used to cook a rabbit in front of visitors and offers recipes. The only ingredients are meat and sea salt. Mutsu cuts it first, then they dig a hole, put hot stones in it, fill it with sand on top and cover it with leaves. The pieces of meat wrapped in leaves are put on top, covered with leaves, covered with sand and built a fire. Now they have to wait for about an hour. But how do they count the time? Hamar makes a sundial. Meanwhile, Mutsu boils broth from the animal bones over the same fire. Cheyenne suggests adding the stalks of a plant he has already tested. Lunch is fabulous, and the girls are delighted. In the evening, they lie on the beach, looking at the stars, and for the first time they feel satiated. That's where episode 6 ends. Friends, if you want to see a sequel, write about it in the comments. And I'll do it right away.